A very good afternoon. It is 1 p.m. here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, and you are just in time for The Ambassador, where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. I am your ambassador, Susan Nganga. We begin this bulletin with good and exciting news from here in the country, where yet again, Harambee Stars have made Kenya proud after securing their place in the quarter-finals of the African Nations Championship for the very first time. The national team sealed top spot in Group A with a 1-0 victory over Zambia at a packed Kasarani Stadium. President William Ruto, ODM leader Raila Odinga, and thousands of fans joined in the celebration as the head of state praised the Stars for their resilience and even led a prayer for the team. Here is the full report.
Now, this is your second goal. What's the feeling like comparison to the other games?
Nasema nimekuwa much better in the second half. First half ilikuwa bit shaky. I think tumerekebisha as a team. I think hiyo chance moja imekuja. I think nimeweza kufanya kitu kilikuwa natakikana.
Kenya Harambee Stars have booked their place in the quarter-finals of the African Nations Championship after a dramatic 1-0 win over Zambia at the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani. The strike sealed Kenya's unbeaten run in Group A with 10 points, one clear of Morocco, and condemned Zambia to an early exit with no points.
I think I should thank God first, then thank my coach and my teammates for pushing me throughout the game. I guess this is the reward and the maximum point.
Tanzania will get their wish and they will experience what we experience. The group of death. Now Morocco is going to Tanzania. So I want feedback after the Morocco game so that they know what we went through every game in this tournament. So good luck to Tanzania in the next round.
Among those in the stands were President William Ruto, opposition leader Raila Odinga, and sports CS Salim Mvurya. After the match, the president hailed the Stars' resilience, saying they had silent doubters who never expected them to survive the so-called group of death. In a rare moment inside the changing room, President Ruto led the team in prayer, asking God to grant them strength in the knockout rounds. He also reaffirmed his pledge of 2.5 million shillings for each player.
Our Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this evening. Thank you for this team, Team Kenya, Team Harambee Stars. We want to commit these good citizens of our country, these good players, to your good hands. As they play, protect them, Heavenly Father. Give them success in all the remaining games.
The Harambee Stars will now face Madagascar in Nairobi on Friday as the nation rallies behind their dream of continental glory. Susan Nganga, GBS News, Nairobi. Congratulations to Team Harambee Stars. Now moving forward, a diplomatic storm is brewing between South Africa and the United States following the release of a controversial U.S. human rights report. The South African government has strongly rejected the report's claims of worsening human rights condition, calling it inaccurate, biased, and a distortion of the country's constitutional framework. Officials say the U.S. is applying double standards while ignoring its own internal issues, including racial inequality and systematic violence. Here's more on the story.
South Africa slammed the latest US human reports as biased and inaccurate, rejecting claims of worsening conditions, land takeover, and alleged extrajudicial killings. The Department of International Relations says the report distorts the country's constitutional reality and relies on discredited sources. Officials also criticize the US for applying double standards, judging others while refusing oversight by international bodies like the United Nations Human Rights Council.
This is a double standard by major proportions. I'd like to start by speaking about South Africa's constitution and human rights institution as a whole. It meets international standards and more by also including socio-economic rights protections to address historical injustice, as well as trying to foresee an equitable future for South Africa.
Analysts point out America's own struggles with racial inequality and systematic violence.
Speaking to the fact that in every day there's institutionalized violence which specifically targets people of color within their country.
Tensions between Pretoria and Washington have been rising, especially after South Africa filed a genocide case against Israel. Elvis Muyodi.
A stellar report from Elvis Muyodi. Now, European leaders will join Ukrainian President Zelensky during his visit to Washington, D.C. on Monday, seeking an end to the Russian-Ukraine war after United States President Donald Trump dropped both his push for ceasefire and the threat of punitive actions against Russia following his Alaska summit with Russian President Putin, securing a ceasefire in Ukraine. More than 3 years after Russia's invasion had been one of Trump's core demands before Friday Alaska summit, to which Ukraine and its European leaders were not invited. Davis Karani now reports.
Я не знаю, про що реально говорили Путін і президент Трамп, і я хочу, щоб...
President Zelensky speaking in Brussels on Sunday after meeting European Commission's President Ursula von der Leyen in person and other European leaders virtually after the summit on Friday between President Trump and Putin yielded no clear breakthrough. Trump ruled out an immediate ceasefire, a move that aligns with Putin, who has long argued for negotiations on a final peace deal.
I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them.
According to a report from the U.S., after Trump's meeting with Putin, the U.S. president also told European leaders that he had offered to support a plan to end the war that involved Ukraine giving up parts of its territory to Russia. Ukraine and its European allies have criticized Putin's stance as a way to buy time and press Russia's battlefield advances, and they have expressed unease over Trump's land swap proposals from the outset.
And this peace must be achieved through strength. Let me touch upon the main points. First, we must have strong security guarantees to protect both Ukraine and Europe's vital security interests. Ukraine must be able to uphold its sovereignty and its territorial integrity. There can be no limitations on Ukrainian armed forces, be it cooperation with or other third countries or assistance from other third countries, no limitations for the Ukrainian armed forces.
To try show a firm, EU leaders have left to the US for talks in White House, and the leaders, including German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, French President Emmanuel Macron, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, Finland President Alexander Stubb, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, and von der Leyen have accompanied Zelensky to Washington, D.C. Will these talks lead to an end of the war that has been fought for 3.5 years?
Про що реально говорили Путін і президент Трамп. І я хочу, щоб багато деталей президент Трамп сказав мені, потім європейським лідерам. І те, що президент Трамп сказав сигнал про гарантії безпеки, для мене це набагато важливіше, ніж думки Путіна. Тому що Путіна не дасть ніяких гарантій безпеки. Гарантії безпеки – це сильна армія. Це може дати тільки Україна.
Davis Karani for GBS News.
We'll keep him updated on that report as it develops. Now, the ambassador will take a short break. We'll be right back with even more as we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. Stay tuned.
Everywhere, GBS.
Hello, my name is Nyabio. I'm from Mahanim. Call this school a good school because the second my mom saw it, she saw it was Christian based. And when I see Christian based, that's what the character my mother wants for me. And I like the sports that we play for PE. Like sometimes we play table tennis, we can play football, we match, and on Fridays we have games. And we verse the teachers in football. And this is why I think the school is the best school your children can go to.
Welcome to Fun Dance Class. Today we will continue learning about Jingle Bell Rock. Friends, first you cross your arm and put it on top of your head, and as you go in left side, you open it, then you come back to your place.
And then you make your leg 90 degrees, and then as you put your legs until 90 degrees, you need to jump a bit. 1, 2. Then as you jump a bit, you need to stretch your hands downwards.
So today's topic is Rising Stars, young people who create, influence and inspire. So
on an honest note, creating is hard work, and there are people who I see their work and they're constantly pushing themselves. Like wanajipush, kujipush, like they're putting creativity up top over there.
I think no one also prepares you for the fact that the better you become.
The networking is also very good. You see, there are people who have passion for, videography, creating videos, editing. There are people passionate about that. If you are someone who talks and you meet people and you love people, you'll definitely meet someone who's just waiting to shoot you.
But also in terms of what I put out, it goes back to what are your values? What are your values? What are your beliefs? So as much as this is trending, yes, that is trending. Does it align with your values? Does it align with your beliefs?
You can be a star without the star position. Si lazima ukue hapo mbele ya watu. Si lazima wewe ndo ukue star, ndo ukue star. Hata ukiwa hapa chini, wewe bado ni star. And as she has said, discipline is a big thing.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the bulletin, and now Air Canada is gradually restoring services and working to clear the backlog of delayed and cancelled flights after a strike which involved airport and airline staff that had disrupted travel plans for thousands of passengers, leading to widespread cancellations and delays. The government stepped in to resolve the standoff, citing the economic impact and the public inconvenience caused by the strike.
Air Canada is gradually restoring services and working to clear the backlog of delayed and cancelled flights after a strike which involved airport and airline staff that had disrupted travel plans for thousands of passengers, leading to widespread cancellations and delays. The government stepped in to resolve the standoff, citing the economic impact and public inconveniences caused by the strike.
After 8 months of negotiations and weeks of intensive mediation, Air Canada and the Canadian Union of Public Employees flight attendants were unable to reach a tentative agreement. The government firmly believes that the best deals are reached by the parties at the bargaining table, and we will never stop believing that.
Air Canada says operations are gradually returning to normal, but passengers should still expect some delays as the airline clears the backlog of flights. The company has assured travelers that measures are in place to restore schedules as quickly as possible.
I'm absolutely heartbroken. It's not something we want. We want to be flying. We just want to be compensated fully and fairly for all the hours that we are at work.
We are incredibly disgusted that the Liberal government has been speaking out of both sides of its mouth. They said that the bargaining table was the appropriate place to make this address, and here they are having invoked 107. I'm incredibly disappointed. As you can see from everyone behind us, this is not just flight attendants, this is the transportation industry, and I assure you, this is going to start some fire.
Both the government and airline unions say they are committed to dialogue to prevent future disruptions, emphasizing the need for fair labor practices while keeping essential services running. Maureen Rono for GBS News.
And now, Bolivia's democracy is being tested as voters head to the polls amid deep political divisions. The country faces an uncertain future as the ruling party remains locked in an internal power struggle, an opposition candidate attempt to capitalize on the turmoil. Experts say the outcome of the election will determine the stability of the nation for years to come. Nancy Muthoni reports.
While the political drama in Bolivia has captured headlines, it is nation's economic reality that is driving voters to the polls. Bolivia is facing its worst economic crisis in a generation, with soaring inflation and fuel. The once booming natural gas industry has seen its production decline due to underinvestment.
But what happened basically was economic mismanagement. He, shortly after taking office, nationalized the country's gas production, which led to lower levels of investment. And the point now where they actually have to import gas, import diesel production. He slow-walked the opening up of very rich lithium fields in the highlands of Bolivia, and then eventually gave the rights to the Chinese. So it became a really unsustainable anti-market economy that has led to a drag and a flattening of growth. The last 2 years, including this one.
The country's political landscape is currently dominated by an intense internal conflict, personal ambitions that led to dictatorship, human trafficking, and sexual allegations. They called for the need of change.
Well, in this particular case, he's really trying to overturn or question the legitimacy of the election. That, as your previous report pointed out, he's calling for people to spoil their ballots or to just not vote. And if he can get around 20-30% of people who do that, he can claim that this election is not legitimate and that he should be allowed to run. But I think what really destroyed, if you will, his legacy was, first of all, his own sort of personal ambition, his own sort of autocratic behavior that really didn't lead to profound changes, but really he became a personalistic dictator.
The road ahead for Bolivia is complex, and the election's outcomes is far from certain. Reporting for GBS, I'm Nancy Muthoni.
Hundreds of thousands of Israelis have taken to the streets, demanding an end to the war in Gaza and the release of hostages held in the enclave. In Tel Aviv, nearly 500,000 protesters rallied, making it one of the largest demonstrations since the war began nearly 2 years ago. Police responded with force, arresting dozens and using water cannons to disperse crowds as military operations intensify in the Gaza city. Pressure is mounting on the Israeli government to respond to growing public outrage. Let's take a listen.
Protests have intensified across Israel,
with hundreds of thousands of people taking to the streets to demand an end to the war in Gaza. Demonstrators blocked major roads near Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, calling for the government to halt its military campaign and secure the release of hostages. Police made several arrests as tension rose, and the scale of the protest marks one of the largest public mobilizations since the war began. This latest wave of unrest came just a week after the Israeli cabinet approved plan to capture Gaza City, a decision that has drawn widespread criticism. Many Israelis, including families of hostages, says the move risks further escalation and delays any chance of resolution. With the pressure mounting, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has addressed the nation. His remarks are directed at those calling for a ceasefire, arguing that ending the war without defeating Hamas would only prolong the crisis and increase the threat of future attacks.
לסיום המלחמה ללא הכרעת החמאס. לא רק שמקשיחים את עמדת החמאס ומרחיקים את שחרור חטופינו, הם גם מבטיחים שזוועות ה-7 באוקטובר יחזרו על עצמם שוב ושוב, ושבנינו ובנותינו.
As families wait for answers and hostages remain in Gaza, the pressure on Israeli government continues to grow. Reporting for GBS, I'm Ibrahim Said.
Israel's military has intensified attacks on the Gaza City as part of its expanded efforts to take control of the last major population center in the enclave, causing tens of thousands of starving Palestinians to flee again. The neighborhoods of Zaytun, Sabra, Ramal and Tufa in Gaza City have borne the brunt of the recent bombardments. As a spokesperson for the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs stated that Israel's plans to forcibly displace Palestinians to southern Gaza will worsen their suffering, recommended stories. Paul M. Minor with more.
Nearly 1 million people live here in the biggest city in Gaza. Their homes were destroyed long ago, and now they survive in the ruins of buildings, makeshift shelters and tents. And they are being forced to leave Gaza City as Israel intensifies its bombing.
How am I supposed to even get there? How can I go? I need nearly $900 to move. I don't even have $1. How am I supposed to reach the south? I have to walk there with my children, my wife, my elderly father and mother to get to Rafah or Khan Yunis. And even then, there's no space there.
Israeli forces are making it more difficult for people to stay, targeting the few remaining health care centers. One of the latest attacks left the sick, wounded, seeking shelters with nowhere to go. But the attacks aren't limited in Gaza City. Among the victims is 2-year-old child. Through his tears, her uncle explains she was playing when her neighborhood was bombed. A man-made famine is making a desperate situation worse. Israel blocks the entry of most food, water, fuel and medicine. Recently, it permitted some countries to airdrop humanitarian aid in Gaza. But under these circumstances, even help can be dangerous. Many people were injured when a pallet crashed into their tents in Khan Yunis.
The Israelis attacked our neighbor's house. She was with other children near the entrance. Her head was injured and she died moments later.
In Gaza City, people are exhausted by nearly 2 years of war, tired of fleeing Israelis' bombs and bullets, and of repeated forces evacuation orders. Some say this time they won't go. They have already lost everything.
We don't want Israel to give us anything. We want them to take us back to the homes we fled. We don't need more than that.
Reporting for GBS TV, I'm Paul M. Minor.
And that's all with me, your Ambassador Susan Nganga. It has been a pleasure being on The Ambassador and being your ambassador. We meet again at 9 p.m. Follow all of our stories at GBS TV Africa. It's updated throughout the day. We debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. Thank you for your time and company. Have a good afternoon.